Hi everyone, welcome to part 4 of the series of video that I'm creating on this concept of separation of concerns to help you with your German driving license practical exams. If you have not yet watched the previous videos where I've introduced the concept of separation of concerns and also covered other important areas, I suggest you watch them to get a continuation. This is part 4, and in this video let's look at Autobahn and the outside city scenarios. So let's get started with Autobahn. Autobahn is of course the most important part of your exam, and for sure your examiner will take you to an Autobahn. Generally, Autobahns are governed by speed limits or speed limit signs. Otherwise, you also have unlimited speed options. But let's look at different scenarios and the corresponding concerns while driving in an Autobahn. So just for representation, this is an Autobahn with 3 lanes in either direction. You also have a hard shoulder. What are the concerns that you have to be aware of while driving in an Autobahn? Concern 1, of course, is to follow the lane discipline. The rightmost lane, as you know, is of course for slow moving vehicles, or you will see slow moving vehicles on the rightmost lane, and then you use the left lanes to actually overtake. Once you're done with your overtaking procedure, you are expected to come back to the rightmost lane. But generally in crowded conditions, you will see these slow moving vehicles on your right lane, and hence it's recommended to be in the middle lane and go to the leftmost lane if you want to overtake a vehicle in the middle lane. Again, I don't want to get into the details, or I don't want to explain the rules, because the concept of separation of concerns is just to remind you that these concerns exist while driving in the Autobahn, and not to detail you about the rules and regulations, which I'm sure you will go through as part of your training program. So let's look at what is the second concern. The second concern is of course to maintain a minimum distance to the car at front. Okay, so be aware that you are not driving too close to a car ahead of you. And if you approach near to a car ahead of you, it's better to overtake and proceed. What's the third concern? The third concern is of course speed limits. So you will notice that as you enter an Autobahn, the speed is also governed by an increasing speed limits. It starts at 80 to 100 to 120 to unlimited, and the other way around while you're exiting an Autobahn. So be aware of these signs, be aware of the speed limits, and take your actions accordingly. So that was concern number 3. Let's look at the next concern. The next concern is you will also notice that there will be merging lanes. As you can see from these kind of signals, this signifies that in 200 meter, the left lane is going to merge with the right lane. So if you're in the left lane, then consider moving to the right lane without of course endangering others, and by following all the rules. But again, I don't want to get into the rules with this video, but be aware of these merging lane symbols on the road. The fifth concern is the direction boards. As you can see with the example here, each of these arrow here, this is for each of those lanes on the road. So the leftmost 3 lanes are going straight ahead, and the rightmost lane is turning to the right, or it's probably an exit. Just be aware of these direction boards as well, because if your examiner has not given you an instruction to leave the Autobahn, you are supposed to continue straight. So be sure that you are in the correct lane. Okay, what is the next concern? Of course, entering an Autobahn, this should have been the first concern, but yeah, the order doesn't matter. So this is also one of the important concern while you enter an Autobahn. Entering an Autobahn is a concern because you start off with in an acceleration zone, and then there is a merging lane. Okay, and deciding when to enter, looking around, putting your indicator, etc. So this is a concern while you enter into an autobahn. The next concern number 7, is the opposite, the exiting the autobahn. Exiting is slightly different. So you first get into a deceleration zone or deceleration path, reduce your speed, and exit the autobahn. Okay, generally you will get the exit boards well ahead of time. So in this case, you see there is an exit after 1000 meters, and then it's governed by further symbols or signs, like in 300 meters you get this sign with three lines, which means the exit is 300 meter ahead of you. This is where you actually put your indicator on, and then you again get the sign in 200 meter, and then the 100 meter where you take the exit. Okay, so be aware of these concerns in Autobahn. Now let's look at the outside city limits. This is also called outside built up areas in your exams. So what are some of the scenarios or concerns that we need to be aware of? So this is just an outside city roads, just for representation purpose. The first concern is, of course, speed limits. I mean, if there are no speed limits, you know that outside cities it is 100 kilometer, but generally during your exams you are mostly in 60-70 kilometer zone. So be aware of these speed limits and drive accordingly. The second concern that you quite often see is a railway cross on these outside city roads. So be aware of this and take appropriate actions, follow the rules, follow the procedures, whatever is expected in a railway cross scenario. Okay, the third concern, again this is very important, and I've seen people often missing this, that once you're outside city, be aware or expect the start of the city sign coming anytime, because your examiner will bring you back to the city at some point in time, and this time it will not be a speed limit sign, the normal 50 limit and the 30 limit that you're quite used to, but you will get this sign, an yellow board representing that you are going to enter an urban area. So this is something which people often miss, and I wanted to highlight this very clearly. So these are the 3 concerns that would appear in an outside city road. Yeah, that's all I wanted to cover with this video. Stay subscribed for more such videos. Thank you.